Hello, everybody. My name is Dovilė. I am one of the programmers of this film festival, and today I'm happy to. I'm really happy that we have this opportunity to talk with the film director François Jacob. Hello.
Hello.
Is saying hello to us from Canada, and I just wanted to say to all of you that you are participants of this Q&A session, of this conversation. So please be active participants, and you can ask whatever you want, and you can give a question to François. And there is a possibility to do that. It's above on your right. There's a section where you can write a question. Also, you can ask in Lithuanian, and I will translate in English to direct. So I will start the conversation, and please join, please ask questions, and to know more about his work or this film or the theme. So I will start, and then I hope you will join. So François, I don't know, maybe we have people who are watching the film who remembers your film, which was on our program, on our festival a few years ago. On the Moon of Nickel and Ice, and it was a real hit. Like we had so many reviews and so many people asking, could you show it one more time? Could you show it more? And there were a lot of media attention to this film, and so we were really happy about that, and we were really looking forward to this film also. And so I wanted to ask you, so you are Canadian, and so it's your second feature film, and they are both filmed in former Soviet republics or former Soviet region. Those who don't know that the film, The Moon of Nickel and Ice, was filmed in Norilsk in Russia. So could you tell us why you're interested in this part of the world and Soviet Union, if I'm correct?
It's actually, first of all, hello, good evening, everybody. I think it's labas vakaras in your language. Yes, it's even strange for me. This interest is not something I had since my youth or anything. Actually, the film I shot in Russia, in the Arctic Russia, in Norilsk, was to me something as an example for the development of Canadian Arctic. So I wanted to know what industrial Arctic could look like, because Canada has many plans to explore the Arctic. And so I must have thought it was easier for me to go to Russia than to go to Canadian Arctic, which was not exactly true. Maybe you need to pause for translation?
No, we won't have a translation. We'll do it in English.
Okay. So anyhow, I did go to Norilsk because I'm always interested whatever I read and whatever I do, with the situation of people in extreme circumstances, if you want. Norilsk was a place where history is incredibly tragic, and there's a lot of heroism from the workers, heroism from the citizens that live there every day. And I wanted to pay a tribute. I wanted to go there and listen to the lives, the experiences of people living there in this unknown Russian Arctic, unknown to the Western world where I live. So to do that project, I learned Russian. So now I understand fully Russian, and I speak Russian pretty badly, but I am able to be understood. And there is a big diaspora from Caucasus, Kafkaz. And so if you have seen the film, the first scene of the film is actually a car leaves the road and two people are trying to, in the middle of a snowstorm, are trying to pull the car out of the snow. And these two people are from the South Caucasus and probably from Azerbaijan or Dagestan or Chechnya. And so I've talked to a lot of Azerbaijani people there, Armenian people there. They were talking to me about their homeland. In Montreal, here in Canada, we have a large Armenian diaspora from Western Armenia, from Eastern Turkey, nowadays Eastern Turkey. And the situation has been just brought to my attention. And I do have my co-writer friend, Antoine Dion Ortega. He was working on oil projects as a journalist. And so he was interested in Baku as well. So it just, one thing led to the other. And we got interested in the situation of the pipeline projects and everything in the South Caucasus. And we went there and researched and met with the Azerbaijani writer. He's the first person we researched and wanted to talk to, Akram Aylisli. He's from Nakhchivan, and he now is under house arrest in Baku. So that's how it all started. So, but the more intimate explanation, because sometimes I wonder why I do these projects, is the more intimate explanation is my psychologist says I am obsessed with solving conflicts. Well, not solving, but have a kind of diplomat personality. So when she said that, I said, well, maybe that's why I'm over there, because since my parents divorced, I'm obsessed with listening to two versions of a story. And maybe that's why I went to Armenia and Azerbaijan.
We actually had the question, what was your personal interest in making this documentary? So I think you answered to that.
Well, I will add something to this.
Yes,
question.
Please add.
Because at the beginning, it was not really only on the war and the ethnic violence. We really wanted to understand how two countries who had never been independent, or in the Armenian case, independent since the Bagratuni kingdoms and, since the 14th century. All these two countries have always lived under imperial circumstances, Persian, Ottoman, Tsarist Russia, Communist Russia. And so as two countries became independent, we were fascinated by how they were going to shape their identities and how war shaped their identities. But as we went closer to these countries and as we talked to people, I became absolutely fascinated by how people who used to live together for hundreds of years, how the context of war, independence, and nationalism changed the whole perspective. And how do people who were once neighbors suddenly find intellectual resources to call them enemies? History has a big role in this, but we wanted to hear it from the people living on the border, from the people living these circumstances.
There are so many risks when you decide to do that kind of film about the theme and about the conflict which lasts for so many years, for a century. So what was your concerns before going there? How to tell the story ethically, how to tell the story, telling giving the voice to both sides, not to one of the side more. So what were your concerns before going there, and how you decided how the film will gonna be before starting shooting that?
Well, I do films in a very exploratory way. So the film developed and transformed itself as we were going. Of course, when we started in 2017, first trip was in Baku in February 2017. I had read a lot of books about the region, but I had never been there. And so I always have this caution, if you want, not to tell the story of others as a foreigner. To me, it's extremely important to let people speak for themselves. I have to myself be knowledgeable. I have tried to read everything I could on the conflict for 4 years now, in Russian, sometimes in Armenian, because I started learning Armenian, in English and French. But I've never wanted to place anything in anybody's words. This is an exploratory project. So people, it was important to create the time and space for people to be comfortable talking to us. And it was not always the case. In some places, people thought we were spies from the other country. So we abandoned these conversations. We didn't want to, we were not looking for scoops, or we were not looking for scandalous revelations. We wanted to have trustful conversations with the people. For example, you have just seen the film. There is one man who, an Armenian fedayin, if you want, or defender of his town in Tavush, Voskepar, and and it took us about 15 days to reach the level of confessions that he makes in the film. It looks rather simple, but it takes a lot of time to get people comfortable and understanding the project. Because every time we went to Armenia, we would tell people that we had been to Baku, and most of the time it closed the conversation right there. Same thing in Baku. When we said we were in Armenia, suspicions came immediately. Especially in that way, because the West is Christian and has a perception of being more pro-Armenians. It was a lengthy and cautious process. The aim of mine was never to try to say you must find peace, you must reconcile. My aim was to understand how this conflict can still go on 30 years after the war, and why it will probably go on after this war that we're witnessing right now.
You already mentioned a bit, but can you elaborate more? So how did you choose the characters of your film, and also how did you gain their trust? You just mentioned that it was really hard to make them speak freely, but so how was this process of choosing the characters and then gaining their trust?
Well, again, just like in my film in Norilsk, we basically went there and had a lot of time. Well, the limits that the KGB gave us, we had 2 months. And so we stayed there, and we didn't try to force anybody into the film. And it was the same thing in Armenia. We traveled a lot. We went from village to village to village to village and tried to just talk to people. I don't really pre-research people, if you want. We go there and we talk to people. I was more interested in everyday people that are not in the news, that are not in books, that are not in... So that's also, we filmed in 4 different villages before we decided that Voskepar was the village where the conversations were the smoothest or the most interesting. So we left out a lot of footage. We have 200 hours of footage in the region, and the film is 1.5 hours. So as you can see, we left out a lot of things. The only person that we pre-researched, actually there are 2. There's Akram Maylisli, the writer in Azerbaijan. He's obviously key to the film, but we could not be there more than 4 hours because he's under arrest, house arrest. He was actually extremely scared of giving the interview, and his whole family was behind the door, hoping the conversation would end soon. But we had long email conversations before going there, and he had seen my previous film, and he trusted the process. In the same way, for the Armenian side, we had Anna Astvatsaturyan Turkat, the refugee from Baku, and she was the only Armenian to have written her memoirs, a book about the experience of her family during the pogroms in Baku. So she was, if you want, our entrance to the diaspora and also to the actual experience. We met her first in the United States. We talked a lot about the project. She was very cautious about us going to Azerbaijan, but she understood she was willing to go through the process of a neutral film, if you want. So we filmed for 3 years with her, and it was a very interesting process because sometimes she just wanted to stop because she knew that the film was not going to go only her way of thinking. But she knew we would respect who she is, what she lived through, and what she had to say. So yes, everything was complicated in this film. Filming two enemies on both sides is very, very demanding, and you need to be truly respectful in what you do.
Thank you. I will ask a question that audience asked. So we have the fan of yours, Nioli, saying that thank you so much for the film. It's so nice to see your second film at Inconvenient Films. And she has a question. Were you expecting the war to happen anytime soon while filming the movie?
I'm sorry? Was I expecting the war to happen when we were doing the movie?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, okay. So thank you for your question. Achu, I think it's no, we were not expecting the war, but we were talking about it every day. Actually, we have been in a very special gap of time because in Voskepar in Armenia, where on the border, the last shootings were in 2014. And when we arrived, there were no shootings. However, when we left, 6 months later, the town was shot at a lot. When we were in Karabakh or Artsakh for Armenians, we have witnessed detonations and small bombings. And we also visited my interpreter, a friend in Karabakh. She lives in Martuni. She took us to a military base, and in that military base that we could not film, but we've been there. There have been shootings the day we were there. I think everybody in the region kind of expected the war at some point to happen because, I think the whole situation with the coronavirus, the end of oil in Azerbaijan, Russia being very busy in other regions, and Pashinyan being very critical of Russia, and all these things, maybe the Armenian diaspora not being able to travel for war with the pandemic, and all these things have created a circumstance where the war you can understand why the war happens now. So no, we didn't expect it, but yes, everybody who studies the region knew that, that something was going to happen on a large scale for sure. Yeah.
But on the other hand, this Narodno-Karabakh conflict was kind of considered as a frozen conflict in international radar. So why do you, for a really long time before this previous events, and why do you think it was like that? Did you also wanted to shoot the film and to not spread the news, but to tell more about the conflict in your region you live in and in your country? What do you think about that? Why it was considered as it was kind of frozen conflict, yes, but it was not in the radar internationally, and
the international radar has its own laws, it goes where things are exploding. But for example, the huge bomb there was in Lebanon a month ago, Lebanon is also a frozen conflict, but things can happen anytime soon, tomorrow. So what you're looking at a frozen conflict, but you're still looking at deep hatred, deep unwillingness to compromise. Maybe if the Armenian-Azerbaijani conflict had stayed that way for another 50 years, maybe the new generations of Azerbaijanis and Armenians would have even forgotten of the past and whatever. But it's frozen only in terms of direct confrontations, but provocations happen daily, and the circumstances were just maybe not right for for these countries to go at war again. So, but if you, this is a very difficult conversation, because I don't want to put, to speak for any of the two sides, but Azerbaijan, obviously, the population in Azerbaijan, from what I've heard, from what I've seen, from all the discussions I have, I mean, they've had 1 million refugees from the war. They don't forget that. They're pushing their government to go to war, essentially. So when that government no longer has oil and luxury to justify not doing anything, well, then they will use the war as a way to boost their opinion in favor. So, sorry, that was a bad sentence, not well said, but it's not exactly frozen. And also the propaganda on both sides, the whole conversation has never evolved really since 1988. People still deny all the massacres on both sides. People commemorate and call for heroism on both sides nonstop. It's not, it was bound to happen, probably, yeah.
So Lena is saying thank you to you, and she's saying that it is very relevant movie, and it really helps to understand the context of the current conflict. And she has a question: do you think there is a peaceful solution to their current conflict?
Yes, well, that's a vast geopolitical question. I have to say before this that I've never seen a conflict that is so emotional for the population itself. So I'm not, in a lot of circumstances, you might say, for example, the war in Iraq, or, you might say that there are groups of pressure that are leading the agenda. In the Caucasus, I feel that the government really tries to reflect the general feeling of the population, whether it's Azerbaijan or Armenia. That was a cultural shock for me. That the ethnic tension is really felt within every single citizen, because of a tragic history, because of policies and education, and also war, and the way that people portray themselves. Right now on my Facebook, I have friends on both sides, and it's really schizophrenia for me to watch my Facebook. It's incredible, the way that people portray themselves all the time. So what's the solution? According to me, I don't have a magic solution, but there are many key points, I think. I think people, when they are tired of war, if that ever happens, because war brings so much tragedy that at some point people are going to be willing to maybe compromise, maybe say, okay, we've had enough. So when they reach that point, because I can feel that this war is really almost an occasion to prove that we are bigger and better than you on each side right now. But once that happens, when that stops, then I think people in the region, they need to de-escalate the hate speeches. And recognize that they also have committed things that have hurt the other nation. This is why Akram Aylisli, in my film that you've seen, is so important to me in the Caucasus, because he has said sorry for his people. He has said, yes, we have committed awful things, and I will not talk about the awful things that you committed, because I will take the blame for my people, which is unique. There's one writer in Armenia, Levon Javakhian. he has a similar approach. We could not fit him in the movie, but I think people should stop saying "Khod jalou" when you're in Azerbaijan and saying that Armenians kill Azerbaijanis all the day, but then deny that Sumgait existed, that Baku existed, that Kirovabad existed, and the same thing in Armenia. Armenians deny that there was any violence made to Azerbaijanis leaving Armenia, deny that Khod jalou exists. People keep on denying everything all the time. That has to stop. There has to be a conversation, a peaceful conversation about these things happened, bad things happened, but we are going to be neighbors for hundreds of years. So let's talk about how we can now live together. Obviously, there's a major elephant in the room. It's the recognition of the Armenian genocide of 1915. That has to happen. That has to happen from Turkey. That has to happen from Azerbaijan. That would lower the pressure immediately.
I wanted to encourage everybody who's listening to our Q&A to ask questions if you want to, and I'll definitely give them to director. But you were talking about the lack of dialogue and in your film and now during this Q&A. But how do you think it's possible? It's also very, you also show this in your film, that this aggressive propaganda and really increasing ethnic nationalism, which you get from the early age, from school and all these celebrations, etc., etc. So how do you think it's possible to have this dialogue and then this conflict and this trauma of war affects many generations to come? So maybe I'll ask about this conflict trauma and war trauma, which affects generations, and then you face this propaganda and etc., etc. So maybe you can answer this strange question I asked, but about the people who are really young and they know about, okay, already they can taste the real actual things at the moment, that everything which happened like around 30 years ago, and they already have their opinion, they already know what they feel about this conflict. So can you elaborate about this question of mine, which is not exactly the real question?
Well, if I understand your question right, is how do people get out of that mentality? Is that really the question, or?
Yes.
Well,
yes. Thank you for putting it that way.
There is I mean, I cannot tell an Armenian that it's safe to talk and to discuss with an Azerbaijani, because the fear of a brutal dictator across the border is real. And I understand Armenians who are afraid of even thinking that they could coexist in Karabakh with Azerbaijanis. This is the reason why the Madrid principles in the negotiation rounds that were done with the Minsk group, that's why they never really were acceptable in both Armenia and Azerbaijan, because the status of Karabakh would be return the refugees, Azerbaijani refugees, to Karabakh and then have a new referendum, and the status of Karabakh would be decided later. No Armenian will accept that, because they fought for their self-determination and they know that Baku wants the lands back and they're ready to kill them. So it's really a dead end, if you want, in many ways, because although I'm not preaching for peace, I'm preaching for dialogue, if you want. I'm preaching for a symbolic space in which people understand and de-escalate that the other person is not necessarily only a genocidal beast, that these people have a shared culture. They eat the same food. They themselves say that they are the closest people. You know, Azerbaijanis and Armenians are very similar in their way of thinking and culture. They say that themselves. So it's just, it has to evolve. The conversation has to evolve, yes, through education, through films, through visiting Tbilisi and meeting the enemy there, you know. And a lot of people have, you know, changed their minds about other people when they suddenly, I see a lot of videos of young Armenian students going to Tbilisi, meeting and becoming roommates with Azerbaijanis, and suddenly becoming good friends. And obviously this changes the nature of the conversation, but the contacts are so little. The dialogue is so little that propaganda has such a strength in the region. The culture, the history, the commemoration of every single dead person, falsification of history, the very refusal to acknowledge to the existence of the others. This is on both sides. They destroyed cemeteries. In Nakhchivan, they destroyed the famous Julfa cemetery of Armenia, destroyed. But Armenia has destroyed also Azerbaijani cemeteries all over Armenia. I visited 50 myself. They're just abandoned, destroyed. The names are written out. It's a common thing. What one nation accuses the other of, they do it also. It's a common rhetoric. So this has to stop. And how does it stop? Well, first you need peace, or you need enough war to want peace, which is a tragic thing to say. But it's a tragedy. And also, even under Soviet Union, Tsarist Russia, people never talked to each other. They talked through Moscow. So when Moscow disappeared with the collapse of the Soviet Union, then they suddenly discovered that they never actually dialogued. It was under an empire. So you complain to the boss, but not to your neighbor. So this is really a moment in the history of that region where two newly independent countries are fighting for who owns what. And until that is settled peacefully, it's going to be a lengthy conversation. In my mind, obviously, I'm not from there, but that's what I've observed from the 3-4 years.
You already mentioned to me before this Q&A that you already show you showed your film in Azerbaijan and Armenia in private screenings, because the film just started traveling and it still didn't reach the region. So can you tell their reactions, their approach to the film, maybe their comments to you?
Well, I've shown the film to all the characters in the film, all the protagonists. So everybody in the film has seen the film. The film will probably not be shown publicly, neither in Armenia, neither in Azerbaijan, because of the war, obviously. Right now, people don't want to see this film in this context. And in Azerbaijan, it would put people at risk. It's because the regime there is very brutal and authoritarian, and the people in the film, I don't want to expose them. And there's one documentary film festival in Baku, Doku Baku, which I've talked to one of the people in charge. I will not name him, but he said, I'd love to show the film, but if we do, we'll all get arrested. So that's not going to happen. However, there will be secret copies circulating, obviously, on YouTube under. I have an Armenian subtitle version. I have an Azerbaijani version, and so
you're already planning that there will be secret versions of film, kind of illegal, but with your approval, which could travel through the word of mouth, and that people could see.
Well, I mean, it's not only with my approval.
Nice
I'll probably do it myself, you know. So I will
And
probably do it myself. My previous Russian film exists in 20 illegal copies, and I'm very happy
really,
that that exists.
and you
Yeah,
are happy.
of course.
I'm happy with this approach to the distribution.
Well, yeah.
No, but I understand what you're.
I don't.
the reason
I
behind.
personally don't even own the rights to my film, but there are ways to have. I mean, it would be stupid not to have the film released in these countries. I mean, I agree that my distributor is a company. They need to make money out of the film because otherwise they will go bankrupt. But they would not make money anyway. So in the region, so why not just show the film, which to me is more important than to make $50 out of it.
I remember that but the first film or the second film of Joshua Oppenheimer about the place.
Indonesia.
What did you say?
Is it the Indonesian film?
Yeah, about the Indonesia, but I think that the act of killing or
the act of filming, and then it was the song something. I forget the name of the. Yeah, but yeah, yes.
Looking of something like looking. Mm-hmm. So because it was forbidden to show the film publicly in Indonesia, so they had they made a website and which could be seen in Indonesia. And so you have to register there, and you can have a private screening in your house, home, apartment, whatever. And so they give you an access to the film, which is like they're giving you the access, so you are not doing a crime. And so that's how they kind of walked through this censorship in the country. So maybe this is the idea for you.
Well, the thing about the act of killing is that it shows people from the regime.
Yes, it's true.
It's showing.
It's a more difficult situation.
Yes, showing opponents, showing dissidents and opponents is another matter. Regarding Azerbaijan, in Armenia, I don't really see, because the film was also shot before the revolution, so people did not want to talk about the previous regime in Armenia, Serge Sarkisian, and they didn't want to talk openly about the government in Armenia. But since the revolution, and we filmed actually the revolution, you've seen it in the film, and we were there by chance, and since then people have talked more about what was going on before. But so I don't really see the film there being a problem for those who speak in the film. It's a problem, though, for what it shows about the country, if you want. And right now, the unity against Azerbaijan is much more important than nuances and subtleties about national identity and everything. So it's war right now.
We have a few questions about your future. One question is, when can we expect your third film at Inconvenient Films, and what is it going to be about? And it's the question which is really close to this. So what is the next project you are working on?
Well, that's a good question. I have many projects, but they're not necessarily all connected to Eastern Europe at all, actually. I did have a project that I wanted to do about a jazz quartet that was formed in Tbilisi, Tiflis or Tbilisi, I don't know how you guys say it, but and the quartet was a Turk, Azerbaijani, Armenian, and the Georgian, and they formed in Tbilisi for the festival. But it's not working right. They're a little too afraid of talking. So I was hoping to do a jazz film about ethnic getting-togethers, you know, and because their jazz quartet is a peace statement, but they're too nervous about it. So that project is on the ice a little bit. And then I had another project, which is very strange, not connected to Eastern Europe at all, which is about tax evasion. I wanted to explore the sorcery of tax evasion in a very strange Tarkovskian maybe way to talk about money fraud in the world, but it's too early to talk to you guys about it. However, I'm delighted that my two first films were at this festival that looks really fantastic, and I hope the third one's going to be of interest to you guys, wherever it is and whatever it's about.
I'm happy that you decided to stick to documentaries. So I'm happy that you decided to do that. And
I think the world is an endless source of inspiration for observation. There are so many things, you know, that we have misconceptions about, that we look at, you know, in a news-oriented way, and I think it's always worthwhile to bring a camera and listen to people, no matter what you do. Documentaries are essential, I think, too.
And if you do a film in your country, you already mentioned in the beginning of the conversation that
yeah,
about it a bit. But if you decide to do the film in your country, what would be the film about?
I have three burgeoning, you know, evolving projects in my province, because I'm in French Canada, which also have ethnic problems with English Canada, and but my three, and also ethnic problems with native Canadians. And so, yes, I would return to my idea of exploring the development of northern Quebec, where actually the Inuit people are right now. It's a far west of mining and industrial developments and immigration to the north in a times of global warming. So the Arctic right now is almost not really Arctic anymore. And so I'd like to follow people there in a kind of a way that I did with the film in Norilsk, but in Canada. And I have lots of projects about ecology. The disappearing of, you know, Canada is famous for its wild spaces, you know, but it's more and more a myth. So I have a specific thing in mind regarding the disappearance of animals, and but these are all under development. Nothing is done for sure.
I think we have to go towards the end of our conversation, but I have also a question which I forgot to ask before about the film Under the Same Sun. It's about the visual part of the film and aesthetical part of the film, because it has really aesthetical visual images. And can you tell about this decision to have this such aesthetical film, and about the use of sound, and can you tell what was the idea about the sound and the visual part of the film behind
Yeah, I'm not too sure I understand what you mean by the aesthetical vision. I mean, I wanted to look natural, basically, but natural in a cinematic, if you want, kind of way, like realistic fiction, if you want, or naturalistic fiction, if you want. I'm interested in the fluidity of being in somebody's life, and I usually try to avoid, you know, reportage, you know, kind of TV look, or just I try to give the impression of a dense reality. So we work with lenses, we work with focus, we work with framing, intimate framings, but also we oppose them to larger landscapes and to have the individual and his environment, and his or her environment, for sure. So this is basically the dichotomy, and in the editing we just try to give this perception of time, which is, I don't like to cut fast. I don't like to jump from one thing to another. This is a faster film though than the Russian film in terms of editing, because we had so many things going on. But sound, I think, is something that's I can answer more deeply. I think the music. The music, we were looking for something, the electronic in the film, to me, it's kind of, electronica, the kind of idea of old electronic devices, that are no longer really working, and that it's like a wave of it's almost like the earthquake, if you want, or this shakiness of things. Like, to me, the traveling through Armenia is traveling through ruins, most of the time. And I wanted this music to feel the rust, to feel this kind of atmosphere. I don't know how to explain it, but I wanted to, I'm not really good at explaining this, but the sound is, we never put microphones, for example, lapel mics. We almost never use them. We use the sound of that's around the people. We want a rich, dense sound if we can, and I would say that's it.
So I think that we already talked quite a bit, and already took quite a bit of your time. And maybe I will ask the last question. And if somebody wants to ask something more, it's your last chance. I will. I changed my mind what I wanted to ask. So
I'm not encouraging anybody to smoke, but I need a smoke right now. So,
yeah, sure. We're not in a screening hall, but I wanted to ask about maybe just what you think about the future of cinema. It's just to think about a bit. How do you think everything will change if we will continue watching films virtually, like our viewers are doing at the moment, and if real life cinema will stop? So, what do you think? How it will change our approach? And yes.
I don't think people will be happy watching films online forever. I think I can only speak for myself here, but people, they go to work, they transport, they take the metro, they're in their cars, and at some point in life you need to have an occasion to meet other people, to go outside, to watch a film with friends and have a beer after that, or have a vodka maybe. So it's just that staying in your living room forever is not going to work. I mean, yes, it's a new market. People will watch films. I watch films on my screener. I watch films with this thing here at home. Now I do them alone because I'm not allowed to see anybody. But before that, we would gather 5-6 people here. So it's VOD, it's online, but with friends. But I also go to the movies 2-3 times a week. That's me, obviously. It's what I do in life. I do movies, so I watch movies. But I also feel that we are going to slowly exit this the far west of internet and virtual world. I hope that we will see a renewed interest in living together and seeing each other and touching each other and speaking to each other around culture, around books, around films, around paintings, and that because just organizing everything virtually is of no interest to me.
Thank you for your for your answer, and really thank you for all this Q&A and your answers to my strange questions. It's the tomorrow is the last day of the festival, so I have a lot of things in mind, many questions in mind, and it was hard to ask them correctly, but thank you very much, and I really hope that you will come to Lithuania and to our festival with your next film, with a third film, and because we really know that our fans are looking forward to your films. So
I'm super happy to hear that. Thank you, my Vilnius fans. Thanks a lot.
So thank you for the conversation, and have a nice day. Nice day.
You too.
Yes. Thank you.
Stay safe in Lithuania, and I indeed hope to travel to your country one day. It's really on my list, and I'll say hello. I'll check in.
Yes, and we also have a lot of interesting themes to talk about in the films. So you can, you can check it out, what's happening here. So thank you very much, and thank you all to everybody who participated and asked questions. So you still have one day left to see the films you want in our platform, and thank you very much, and goodbye.
Yes, again, labas vakaras. Goodbye.